Hey everyone, this is Esther Kane with SeniorSafetyAdvice.com. And today I thought I would do a video on some questions that I've been answering. We've been getting questions like every single day now from our readers. And a lot of them, are kind of around the same theme, but there's a few that are a little different. So I've been answering them, and I thought, why not share some of these answers with everyone else on YouTube, because this information may be useful for others. So I pulled out 4 questions or conglomerates of questions, and then my answers to them. So let's get to that, and I hope this information is useful. If you like this video, click on the like button, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel for information and updates and whenever we put out a new video, which is just about every week. All right, so question number 1. What would you recommend for bedside on a wood floor so that your feet don't slip out when getting out of bed? The question was actually kind of vague, only because I wasn't sure what was causing the person to slip, but that was their question. So I responded back by saying, well, 1 is their ability to maintain their balance compromised for some reason. 2, do they have sensory problems with their feet or maybe one foot? A lot of diabetics have sensory problems. 3, do they have weakness in their legs, their hips, their knees? 4, are they cognitively impaired to the point that walking, standing is just becoming too difficult for them? And 5, or maybe you're just asking the question to find a product that would make the floor safer for this person. So I wasn't sure what those issues were, and I actually said, I know it's a lot of issues, and it may just be that you're just asking me a simple question, but I didn't want to leave any stone unturned if I could. So my response was, if the person you're asking about is having physical or cognitive problems and they haven't yet been evaluated by a physical therapist, occupational therapist, physician, of course I'd strongly recommend that you do that. And if possible, it would be preferable to have the therapist evaluate the person in their home. That way they can see the exact environment that we're talking about. Yeah, we get the general idea. It's a bed, there's a wood floor, and the person is slipping on there. But until you can see the entire picture, it's difficult to give an exact answer. So 1, I would recommend an evaluation if they have not had one as of yet. And I know that can be hard during these times of COVID, but you'll have to weigh your options to see what, is the safest thing to do. So my answers in response to the question of how do you make that wood floor less slippery or decrease the chances of that person slipping when they put their feet down, I said 1, that person could wear anti-slip socks to bed, which may help the situation. And I'll have a link below in the description under the YouTube video on some of the products that I recommended in the email. Number 2, any rug that is placed on the side of the bed must be placed on a non-slip pad to prevent it from moving. But if you want to make sure, you also want to make sure that the rug is made of a material that isn't slippery itself. So when the bare foot is on there, they don't slip on the actual rug, even if the rug itself is not slipping. So I recommended like a Berber type of rug, or even one of those outdoor rugs that are kind of scratchy. Those definitely you shouldn't slip on them. But again, I'll have a link to those products down below. And 3, I also mentioned if you wanted to avoid the entire rug issue, which I always recommend, there are anti-slip coatings. It's like a paint varnish type of material that you can actually put on the wood floor itself. There are companies like Trusty Step, Slip Doctors, and Slip Tech Solutions. These products can be applied to just about every flooring, if not all flooring. They work on ceramic tile, on terrazzo, on porcelain, quarry tile, fiberglass, brick, wood, concrete, marble, granite, vinyl, and travertine tiles. So I think that's just about every flooring that there is. So you can place that on there. It would make that area, when they put their feet down, much less slippery, and you avoid the whole issue with a rug and possibly tripping over it and all of that. But again, I would recommend an evaluation by an occupational therapist, a physical therapist in the home environment, if possible, just to assess to see what exactly is going on with that person. But hopefully those solutions will help you if you're having trouble with that kind of issue. All right, question number 2. How to get someone off the floor if they don't have an injury due to the fall. One thing I want to caution is just because you don't physically see an injury, like a cut or a scrape, anything like that, doesn't mean that they do not have an injury. I worked in head injury units for a while, and I can tell you all you need is a slight little bang to the head, and you can have what's called a closed head injury, which means you look fine, you may sound fine for a while, but then you will develop a bleed in your brain, and that is not, well, it can be fatal. So I would strongly recommend that if someone has fallen and you're not sure if they've hit their head or had some other injury, to immediately call 911 and have them evaluated. Have an EMT or paramedic would be the safest thing to come in and assess the situation, get that person evaluated and fixed. But of course, there are times that the person may have fallen. You see them fall. Maybe they just fell right on their butt. Maybe they fell on their side, and that there wasn't any traumatic head injury or anything like that. So I would say in those instances, what you can do is try to lift the person up in small increments. That's really just about the easiest and safest thing to do, although you do need certain, not equipment, but you do need certain tools to help you do that. One note I want to say when lifting anyone up off the floor, you want to make sure not to exacerbate or cause an injury. So I would recommend to use a gait belt or some type of belt around the person to help them up. Because sometimes it's just not safe to put your hands underneath their arms or to grab them in any other way. A gait belt or a belt of some kind would be better. And again, I'll have a link to a gait belt product. They're really inexpensive. They're much safer than a regular belt. So I think every household that has an elderly person actually should have a gait belt in there. Maybe that's a good stocking stuffer for next Christmas. All right, but the procedure to help get someone up off the floor incrementally, if you know 100% for sure they haven't injured themselves. Very first thing is you want to get that person sitting up, or at the very least on their side, so that you can get them up. The idea is to get them on the floor in a sitting position and then help them to get up to a higher position, like a low stool, a low ottoman, anything like that. And then from there, get them up to something a little bit higher, and then from there up to something even a little bit higher than that. So you need those things already in place, or at least, to bring them there. Now, if they fell by the sofa, you might be able to get them up onto a stool, and then from the stool, perhaps onto the ottoman or coffee table, and then from there onto the sofa or chair. So that may give you an idea of what you need to do. The very most important thing, though, is to make sure whatever you're putting them on, that thing is not going to move. So if you do get a stool, it needs to be braced up against something, so that when you do help them to stand up or to get up a little bit, hopefully they can push themselves to help you get them up to get on there. That stool doesn't go out from under them, and then they fall down again and you fall down with them. The other thing to know is that if you feel you cannot lift that person safely, if you have an injury or a back injury, or you're just not strong enough to help that person up, please just call 911, or at the very least get someone else to come help you with that person. Don't try to do it yourself. It's just not safe for both of you. So why exacerbate the situation? All right, so that was my answer to his question basically, but I was a little concerned because a lot of people think just because you fall and you don't see an injury that there isn't one, but that isn't the case. So please be very careful. All right, question number 3. Elders who have rheumatoid arthritis often have a hard time using faucets and soap dispensers and things like that. So that was a question, actually several questions that I've been getting about that issue. So the questions were basically, what would you recommend? So I personally recommend the touchless faucets. That's the number one. And there's also the touchless soap dispensers. So I would recommend both those things, which would make it so much easier for the person to use. They simply just have to put their hands underneath the soap dispenser, soap comes out, and then put their hands under the faucet and water comes out. There's no need to reach over and to try to handle the faucet levers or anything like that. But of course I know that they cost a little bit more, and it means installing them and all of that, but if you can manage it, those are the number one choices for anybody that has difficulty with their hands. Again, I'll have links to those products below. And then the next recommendation would be lever handles. A lot of faucets have the round knobs. I would recommend anything that is a long handle. The longer the better, because it's just much easier to just push and pull. Although I do know, I do remember a patient that had a very hard time pulling the levers. So you're going to have to assess that individually with your own senior loved one. But that is the next best option. Even for doors, doors that have a round knob, they really should have a lever. I think all doors in homes with seniors living in them really should have levers. It's just much easier. But the third thing is that you can get adaptive tools for your existing handles. If you happen to have some faucet knobs that are, the short little knobs that come out, you can get some extensions to make them longer, which would make it a lot easier for someone with rheumatoid arthritis to manage them. And then maybe just get the dispenser that, the automatic dispenser for the soap. You can just start off with one and see how it works, and then go on to the other if you can. But definitely the touchless ones are the best products to use for anybody with RA or any kinds of problems that they may have with their hands. Okay, last question, number 4. This is a conglomeration of a lot of questions. Also, we get a lot of questions about monitoring. How to monitor an elderly loved one when you live away or aren't always there. And usually the questions have to do with, I want to have multiple cameras around, I want to have motion sensors, I want to be able to see at night, all of that combined. There are 2 products actually that I always recommend, and one of them is actually very popular. A lot of our readers purchase this. So one product is, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the COOAU pet camera. I don't know, pet camera. And the second product is the Blue Rams Home Pro. Now, it's the Blue Rams Home Pro that a lot of our readers have been purchasing. We get sales for those all the time. So I know the pet camera one sounds kind of weird. Why would I do that? But they both have a lot of the same things. They both have motion sensor capability, night vision capability. So I think, and you can get, of course, multiple of them and place them wherever you need to in your home. So I think both of those products would work out very well for monitoring. I mean, the other option is something like Amazon's Echo Show, which is great as far as, having a visual product right there where you can just drop in. They have these great drop-in skill that you can just turn on your Echo Show and you can start seeing, you know, the view of your elderly loved ones, you know, or however you have their Echo Show pointed. But it doesn't have motion sensor and it doesn't have night vision. So it's not that kind of safety as far as that goes. But initially it's a great product if you just want to keep an eye on your elderly loved ones. But if they've had a stroke, if they have diabetes, if they have some illness, if they have a history of falling, then you definitely want something that's a little more meant for the purpose of monitoring someone. So those were the 4 questions that we get a lot of questions related around those issues, and maybe every now and then I'll do another video with another series of questions because we keep getting them and I love answering them. So keep sending them to us. It also gives us great ideas for another article or, you know, to research a product. Yeah, let's face it, nowadays there are so many wonderful, wonderful products for aging in place and for caregivers, making it so much easier for them to help care for their elderly loved ones. So I think we're living in a great time, well, except for everything else that's happening on the planet. So I hope you're staying safe and healthy. Again, if you like the video, click on like. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time. Bye.